So my name is Cara Hood. I am a freelance lighting designer from South Wales. But that covers lighting design, but also I'm a programmer, technical stage manager, lighting assistant. Anything that's essentially got a cable and a light bulb or a lamp is my problem, typically. I mean, I grew up as I always loved anything drama. I was part of amateur dramatic society, musical theatre groups, so I always loved performance, the stage, in a way. But also, my dad's an electrician, a domestic electrician. So from as long as I can remember, we've been pulling things apart and putting things back together. So I kind of got to my late teenage years in high school in sixth form, and I knew I wanted to work in theatre in some way, but I didn't really know in what capacity that could be. I didn't really have any knowledge of backstage theatre until my drama teacher went, "Have you considered stage management?" That was a brand new word to me. And so I went and looked around to see what degrees I can do. And very fortunately, I got into the stage management and technical theatre course at the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama based in Cardiff. And for me, it was fantastic because it was a very broad course. So I learned everything from stage management to sound, construction, video, and lighting. And we were allowed to specialise in a way through productions. And I did my first light design in my second year, and I was kind of hooked from there. So just went from there, graduated then, and relit shows, technical managed shows, technical stage managed, and just really wanted to pursue light design. So it's just gone from there, really. So it was mostly my degree and gaining my BA. And from there, really, it was just kind of thrown into the industry. I have been very fortunate to have been mentored twice. Mentored throughout my degree by some brilliant designers. And kind of then they were the first people to employ me when I got into the industry. So like Katie Morrison, Elle Higgins, Joe Fletcher, who are great designers who worked mostly in Wales. And then I joined because of COVID. There was the 2020 Lumières scheme that the ALPD did, and I was partnered with Matt Haskin. So that was a really amazing time to have somebody to discuss lighting with, although it was over video chat like we are right now. It was really lovely to be able to bounce off somebody and think about lighting in ways further than just practical, but actually conceptual, and develop that. And then this year I was mentored again by Lucy Carter when I lit for NYDC earlier this year for Nova Scene at Sadler's Wells. And that was wonderful again, to have another voice and then somebody else to sort of bounce ideas off and guide me and think in a different manner of how to approach my craft. So although my formal training has only been a degree, my actual training and meeting people and networking and bouncing off of designers has been great, because sometimes lighting can be quite insular and quite lonely, I find, especially when you are the entire lighting department. So it's been great to have mentors and people to bounce off and to learn from. It's mostly subsidised theatre, mostly in South Wales, a little bit in the southwest, a bit of London, mostly theatre straight plays, although I've kind of had a foray into dance, starting off mostly in ballet, but now I've kind of dipped a little bit into contemporary as well. I think what's quite exciting is because I'm at the beginning of my career, I haven't particularly got a focus yet, and I love being able to do quite a variety and finding what I like to do and don't like to do. So yeah, kind of a broad spectrum at the moment, but kind of more regional, small to mid-scale stuff, typically. very, very visual. I mean, that naturally being lighting, so I'm very much like taking visual imagery and collating things together. But what I love sometimes is you can go from one production to another only a few weeks apart and become a little mini expert for a short period of time of that kind of topic or subject. So, because research for me, I think, is essential. Conceptual research, research to the historical reasoning. I really love speaking to directors and, well, of course, to directors, but also designers as well, and what inspired them, what was their visual imagery, how they kind of brought these ideas together. And so it's kind of all manner of things. Research, though, definitely, because you can sort of 1 week you can become an expert in like sort of 70s working class women in South Wales, and get to know so much about that, so much sort of reference, not just imagery, but actual reference for context, and that helps with things like mood and setting, and kind of helps you around design. And then the following week, I've really deep dived into sort of drug misuse, for example, in Swansea. So it's always for me research and kind of speaking through sort of visual stimuli and sort of imagery to kind of collate together ideas, and that's kind of my process before even touching plans. Ideally, sometimes the time scale means you have to kind of start thinking about tech as from the get-go, but I like to, if I can, kind of let that go and really think conceptually and in my research before putting a lantern on a plan, if I can. And I'm sure a lot, well, actually, I don't know, but for me, it's typically small budget. But that has a knock on effect. That doesn't just mean you can't get the lanterns you wanted to, or typically that has a knock on of there's not as much time as you wanted to. You know, you've got a morning session to rig, and you've got a couple of hours, to focus, and you've got a day and a half, 2 days of tech if you're lucky. And on top of that, there's less personnel. So I am the light department. I may be the LD, but I'm also the programmer. I'm the rigger. I'm my own assistant. There's no Prodilex. I am the Prodilex. So it's typically budget, and that has a knock-on effect into other aspects. Although sometimes some people say, oh, less budget's a great challenge, because then you have to think a bit more. You have to think more creatively to overcome and adapt. But sometimes you really get that production and you're like, oh, I wish I could have had the money or the time. I often find it's time. I wish I was able to have the time and I didn't have to program or operate my own dresses, but actually be able to have the time to sit and kind of wander the space as much as I would like to actually fully be able to take ownership of that work. So that sometimes I find the hard thing is not being able to perhaps do everything I perhaps really wanted it to become or wanted to do. So yeah, budget. When I have done bigger shows, or I've stepped my foot in working with NYDC this year and had a programmer, and went to Sadler's Wells or the Lowry, for example, and there was a whole lighting team, and if I didn't want to, I wouldn't necessarily have had to touch a lantern, which was really weird. I don't know where the white glove shop is, but I don't want to go there, So it was a totally different world. So you never know, maybe one day. But for now, I like the graft a little bit. It does further my learning. And I think as a designer, I think it's really good to be able to appreciate every element. So when I put a light on a plan, I understand more than just what the implication of the output of that light is, but the actual work that goes behind it in getting that fixture in its stead. And so, I think it's at my level kind of really good for me to further my learning. But yeah, definitely looking forward to. I've had a couple of programmers this year, and it's nice, and I want to keep that going for sure. Yeah. Yes, I feel like any time I go to see a production, I'm the typical, especially a lot of my friends who are Royal Welsh College graduates as well, or also work in the industry, and I go and I sit there and I do this. I'm looking up, so any kind of production I go to see, I'm taking inspiration. I'm thinking, oh, they've used that on the pros. Oh, they've used that method instead. And so certainly, yes, everything I go and see. If I had to give names, it would definitely be, and I've never met actually that's a lie. I met Paulie when I interviewed her for my dissertation. She's an awesome lady, Paulie Constable, and I really love she's an incredible visual artist, undoubtedly, and her accolades and her work clearly demonstrates. But also, I interviewed her about environmental issues for my dissertation, and she was really, really brilliant to speak to about those things, and so open and so up for conversation. But when I look at productions like Ocean at the End of the Lane, I love anything sci-fi on stage, and especially I think it's probably the obvious answer, but Warhorse, kind of just like those bold ideas and just the way that lighting can tell a story. The simplest thing of Act 1 being warm and very kind of more front lit, so the puppets are very rounded and lifelike and look alive and healthy, and then versus Act 2, where it's very heavily backlit, and then the puppets look like these horses look skeletal, and they look half dead. Just things like that, and the bold way in which she did that's really inspiring. And then there's another designer called Zoe Spur, who I've never met, and I'm a big fan of hers, so if she does watch this, hello. But I saw her first piece of work I saw was Fantastically Great Women Who Changed the World, and I absolutely adored the color, the musicality, and for her specifically, it's how she incorporates lighting within scenic elements, which I'm a big fan of. And I then gone and researched her work, and for me, it seems like it's a theme that she has done a lot. So when she did Hamlet, and just the way that there was sort of like low hanging truss, they were fluorescents in kind of this very metallic industrial setting, and just kind of bringing lighting as part of it. It was very bold with kind of its pools of light, and just so I very much am a big fan of really bold designers who love using big beams and kind of really incorporate lighting, either through costume or through set, and that's something I would like to do more of, definitely. Outside the industry, definitely. I'm sure a lot of people say when they go outside and see nature, and naturally, of course, you're going to be inspired when you see natural lighting and how that changes space. But for me, I love man-made lighting as well. My phone is full of like photos that of like just lights that I've seen in the real world that I love to see how lighting is lit. Like a big example I can think of is like a high-rise block of flats, and you can see sort of into everybody's own little world, and how the color temperature and the lighting is just subtly different, between each space. And so my phone is full of just random images of just, I was standing on this street corner and I like the way the street lamp sort of hit the bin or something. But also I'm a massive film and TV fan. So a lot of the times I can draw inspiration from, and often I find the directors I've worked with will reference a TV show or a film, because I think it's all the styling. So it's bigger than just the lighting, but maybe like it's the whole styling of subject matter that they really enjoy. And so the biggest examples I can think that I've referenced before is probably like Stranger Things as an example, because there's a really iconic color palette and really iconic world of like the upside down. And so I've definitely drawn inspiration from TV shows such as that, sci-fi, once again, in my work, definitely. I mean, I would like to say COVID, because I started working in the industry post-graduating, because I graduated in 2019, in the industry for about 9 months, and of course everything came shutting down, and it was a very uncertain time. But I was quite fortunate. I did some work experience on a TV show, and some kind of throughout COVID, I did a lot of sparking and a lot of programming for some sort of high-end TV shows, especially here in South Wales. It's a great hub for TV. So if anything, I did my 18th edition and my 7909. So I kind of used COVID in quite a very practical way to further my learning, having that loss of the theatre industry, which is heartbreaking. But so I won't say it was COVID, because actually I find the biggest challenge in my career is myself, in a way of kind of trying to be my own advocate, really. I think it's really hard when I've got ambitions and things I want to do and people I want to work with and productions I want to work on. And I think it's really hard for yourself to, of course, imposter syndrome, I believe, is something probably everybody's got a little bit of hiding somewhere. But I think it's trying not to self-doubt and actually feel like, oh no, I can send that email to someone and be like, hello, I really like what work you make. I think your company is really awesome and I'd really love to work with you guys. I really love to make art with you guys. But having that self-confidence to go, yeah, they care about meeting people, or but actually, like, that edge of, they don't care who I am, my work's not good enough, I've not done anything big enough yet, I've not got enough experience, I'm not the right person. And that self-doubt, in that kind of freelance world as well, because it can be quite lonely being the entire lighting department. So having that confidence to really go, okay, maybe I am good enough to email this, this mid to large scale production company and be like, yeah. So I think being your own advocate, and I'm really trying. I've told my friends a lot about, and my peers where I work and everywhere, about this issue. I try to talk to people about it, and they go, don't be so daft, and come on, write an email, I'll read it for you, we'll send it. I'll be like, is this the right production images I should attach to this? So very fortunate to have a really good community around me who want to support each other and elevate each other. But still, I am my own worst enemy, so I got to try and ignore that and get over that, and I'm working on it. So that's it for me, really. I've got kind of two for different reasons, if that's okay, and they're all kind of production based. First one, actually, they both happened this year, but one of them was at the premiere of, I've mentioned it a couple of times, but NYDC's Nova Scene. The creative team and Wayne and everybody was adamant that he wanted everyone from the creative team to come and take a bow on stage in front of a full house of Sadler's Wells. I mean, that coming from Little South Wales. I mean, we've got the most amazing theatre here, but that was that feeling of just not. It wasn't even the, oh, I want to be that one to take the bounce. I was terrified. I was like, I've forgotten how to walk. I don't think I can do this. But to hold like the creative team's hand and just to be like, right, wow, look at this, and to take a bow together and feel sort of kind of that love and that support in that space. That was almost euphoric. And I was like, I could feel like I could do this again. I want more of this. I want more of this, this scale and kind of this, but it wasn't even scale of, audience, but scale of meaning, scale of community and coming together. That was really, really beautiful. And that still stuck with me. But then I'm being cheeky by saying two, but my second one also happened really at the start of this year. I did a production called QueerWay with Leeway Productions here in South Wales. And it was about the queer stories of people of Rhondda on Taff, which is a county here in Wales, up in the valleys. And it was turned into a song cycle, into sort of a musical, which is just song based. And I lit that. And what was so amazing to me is that it covered so many stories of it's sort of so many stories of different queer people in the community, whether it was coming out for the first time or it was the first time going to a gay bar. And also, like, there was a song where there was a mother, because it was all interview based, it was a mother who has a trans son, and it was called I Love You Anyway, and it was all about being a mum and making mistakes, but also trying to do the best thing for your child, even though they'll get it wrong sometimes. And so it was really proud for me, because my friends all my queer friends came to see it, and for me, lighting it, anytime I lit sort of a different song, I was thinking, when I lit the song, which was about being non-binary, I was thinking of my non-binary friends. And so it was kind of a little bit like every song was like a love letter to each one of my friends in a form of lighting. And my mum also came to see it. And so that was really beautiful, to sit there as a queer individual and just be like, wow, this is for my community. Try not to get a bit emotional about it. But that was amazing. And yeah, so that's my two. Para Theatr. Para Theatr, really. It's amazing. I mean, I don't know how sort of rich or rounded my answer would be, because it's a varying one of I'm a big embracer of changing light technology. I'm a massive fan of color and LED and using that, so I'm all for it. But also, when they say, oh, massive changes in lighting and lighting systems, that's great in the venues that have money and have funding and are able to implicate and introduce all these new lighting fixtures and lighting technology. But if you're going to a working men's club in the middle of the valleys, or if you're going to like this converted church hall up in West Wales, you think they have got the money to change these entire lighting systems? No, I mean, they're very fortunate to have the precious lighting kit, these old generics which they have, and they're struggling to find lamps. They're praying their lamps don't blow, and so it's not just changing. The idea of them getting some LED bars in is incredible, because to be able to overhaul not just the lighting stock, but all the lighting, all the power, all the sort of data runs and everything that will require it, such, and all the overheads over that. So I'm a big supporter of it, but I also see, because I do a lot of Welsh touring, actually how it's going to be a while before these smaller venues are going to be able to have that equipment and be able to follow the Green Book and be able to be these modern theatre spaces. And I'm sure this is happening all over the country, but I really, really feel that these smaller spaces, which actually bring theatre into the heart of the community, is vital. And I think more funding or more access to resource should really be going to these smaller spaces. So yes, all for the changes in technology. It is mostly what I know. I can't comment on decades gone by, but I go to venues where they've got stock from 20, 30, 40 plus years ago, and it's still going. And that's all they have, and that's all they're going to have for a long time, unless kind of something changes, really. Because I've recently started working back at my old university, the Royal Welsh College, and they have an amazing stock of equipment. It's fantastic, and the things these lighting students are able to do, and when I was there, the things that we're able to achieve is unbelievable. However, I don't know the course fully, because I've only come in on production based stuff, not teaching stuff, and I do worry a little bit. I do want to say they've got a rig full of movers and their LED Fresnels and a full LED front of house. And I want to say, right, come here. This is Dave. This is the Working Men's Club, right? You've got 8 Fresnels, only 6 of which have barn doors, and yeah, you've got 4 profiles front of house. Yeah, that one's got a dodgy lens tube, and there's some shutters falling out. Make a show. That's what I want to tell them, but they need to have the opportunity to build their portfolio and learn all the amazing things. So but I'd love to see them try to do that, definitely. I try and do kind of the little things. I mean, I love going to a venue where they have sort of the simplest things. If they've got rubber bungees and clips instead of tape, I love places like that. I think that's fantastic. But my own personal thing, because sometimes I'm limited necessarily by rig, I've got to use what I've got. So I can't just go and write it's full LED production. We're going to minimize the power that we're using. I don't really have kind of the authority yet to be able to dictate that and be able to pursue that. I'd love to be more sustainable in my work in productions. I think it's cross-departmental, definitely. I think what I love about a lot of companies I work with, it's all about upcycling, reusing, borrowing, really sort of sharing assets and scenic pieces, which is great. But myself personally, it's stuff simple as I don't print scripts anymore. If I can, unless I'm handed a script. So like when I do some opera stuff, I'm sent a score, which I have to give back. But I often not use a digital script, and I write all my script notes and everything digitally. And then keep them like in the cloud or in the drive. So if my laptop decides to die, I still have them. But I mean, I've still got, notebook. I still won't be without one for notes and thoughts on the fly. But I think just little things, and of course, it's one wrap of tape, not 20. Some lighting students seem to think sometimes, getting all the cables on the bar. But just trying to do small things, mindful things like car sharing. Especially because I work quite a lot on a community scale. If I'm passing my friends upon the way, I'll be like, I'll give you a lift, instead of all three of us driving to the same place when we literally pass each other. So just kind of the small things. I think it's good to be mindful of them. And hopefully as my career progresses, perhaps I'll be able to find spaces or find opportunities where I can have more of a voice and a say in perhaps how we approach being sustainable. But for now, I'm just doing bits that I can, the small bits, because they do add up. Or at least I like to think they do. I try. This was quite a hard question for me to answer when I was writing my notes, because I am of the generation where I am very aware, but I'm very, very fortunate of that. The generations or the women that have come before me have not just opened doors, have smashed open those doors, have tried to smash that glass ceiling, have really kind of paved the way and given space for then younger generations like me to come in and be able to have a voice and be able to be part of things. And I will forever be grateful for that. And I will always endeavour to try and also bring other women and anybody along with me as well, who perhaps are of a minority, whatever that may be, but try and bring those around me. I do workshops for people who, for a variety of people, for young people and for people who identify as female and perhaps don't get the opportunities. So I try to be an advocate for others as well, because there have been hundreds before me have been an advocate for me before I was even born. So it is, I'm incredibly lucky to be walking into that. But I mean, it does still happen. Kind of, I might be the light designer on something, and it might be an issue to do with my own department, but that male technical manager or that male production manager or whoever's in the building will look over my head and want to go and speak to the man in the room. But I don't know if it's because I'm young. I don't know if it's because I'm short. I don't know what it is. In fact, I'm just a woman. But it does happen. But then I'm very fortunate that I aim to, or I like to curate a space so I have the people around me, men and women and everyone in between, anybody, to kind of curate a space that's diverse, that's respectful, that that's loving. And so even though I may get overlooked because they want to go speak to the man in the room, that man will then go, oh, I don't know, that's Cara, she knows, and so even though my voice may get ignored, I get supported by other people around me. And so but that comes from the people who have come before, undoubtedly. And I will endeavour to bring, like I said earlier, bring others with me as well, and keep curating that space and call it out if I can, if I feel safe to do so, if I think it's right to do so, I think it's beneficial to do so. But yeah, I haven't probably got as big of a rounded or knowledgeable answer to give to as I think perhaps others definitely do. Oh, go for it. Definitely. I adore what I do. I'm able to tell stories and collaborate with other artists through like using light and being able to use both sides of my brain, the artistic side and the techie side as well, and I adore it. But kind of sort of advice, I think, just kind of immerse yourself in everything. I'll start with theatre. Immerse yourself in theatre if that's what you want to go into. And what I loved about my degree was the fact that it gave me a nice wide view of like different disciplines and different departments. And I think as an individual now, if sound needs something for some reason, or if stage management are doing so, I have a rounded view of that practice and why, and an understanding. And in the same way, it's great when they have an understanding of what I need as well. So definitely advice of try and, even if you necessarily don't want to do sound or do, that's fine, but listen, watch, kind of understand how other practices work, because it could help you in your communication, in your teamwork and things like that. But also just kind of immerse yourself in the world. Just enjoy stuff, if you like going to gigs, go to gigs and immerse yourself in the music. If you like being outdoors or doing sport, because there's so many skills and things you'll learn by being such a rounded individual. Theatre is long, it's hard, you have long days, stressful days. And sometimes you don't it's often a funny thing. Sometimes you can be on the team with somebody who is incredible at what they do, but they're a horrible, boring individual who you don't want to be around, because I'm trying to not swear, because there's a phrase of don't be a something, and they are that something. But if you're an individual, perhaps, doesn't have all the experience yet, and perhaps doesn't have the answer to everything, but you're kind, you're interesting, you have ambition, you work hard, that individual is a person somebody wants to be around. And that kind of the teamwork you can get through doing sport, that kind of view of the world you can get by, I don't know, being immersed in political issues and stuff and debate. And if you're really into history, nerd about your history as well. So I think just kind of enjoy everything that you do, because it allows you to be quite an open-minded and interesting person, and also just nerd out about lighting as well, and just pursue it, just go for it, just try. I should kind of listen to some of this over my own advice, but try it, go for it, and because you don't know what's going to happen next. Yeah.